all you beautiful people out there, and welcome to my channel. Um, Today I'm going back to the channel Demon Occult Cassette Tapes. And I'm going back to the Evolution Conspiracy. That's what it's called. So I got a question. Is anything not a conspiracy to these people? Because even though this was filmed in the 90s, for some reason, in 2025, we are still, this is a conspiracy, and that's a conspiracy, and that's a conspiracy, and that's a conspiracy. Is anything not a conspiracy to these people? That's what I want to know. So anyway, now that that's over and done with, I'm going to share the screen so you can hear it, because I've been told you can't hear it if I don't share the screen. Alright, make sure the screen's shared. Alrighty. And there is an echo if I don't mute, so I'm going to mute. And this is a continuation, so I am picking up halfway through, or a little bit under halfway through, or over halfway through. I don't know anymore. Alright, let's go.
Kind of insect, for example. There are some that are resistant to a particular kind of insecticide.
This is not evolution. Evolutionists should know better. These small changes are totally compatible with the creation understanding of things. What we need to see is major changes, some type of an animal changing into another type of an animal, and this we do not see.
Okay, this is, oh my God. I don't know whether these people know any better or not. Some of them do. I don't know whether these particular ones do or not. But yes, getting immune to insecticides is evolution. But changing from one type of an animal to another type of animal, this is what creationists do, people. They want to see a cat turn into a dog. That's not going to happen because there are already different species. Now, sometime in the past, there was an animal that was not a cat and not a dog. And this animal then, over hundreds of thousands of years, maybe even millions of years, then split off into cats and dogs. That's what evolution is. You're never going to see a cat turn into a dog. It ain't going to happen. Alright, moving on.
If we're talking about seeing evolution today, seeing one species changing into another species, that's not going to happen. Although there must be, from an evolutionary perspective, many transitional forms out there, the likelihood of finding any one of them is extremely low.
The more we learn about paleontology, that is fossils, the more certain we are that evolution is based on faith alone.
The National Academy of Science is the official advisor.
Hey, Blood Batter. What's up? So, the anthropologist was correct. I don't know why I even bothered explaining that if they were just going to have an anthropologist come. Anyway, paleontology does show evolution. Like you've got Archaeopteryx, and they say, oh no, Archaeopteryx doesn't show evolution. Well, yes it does, because long time ago, the creationists were like, well, show us, an animal that has traits of another animal. Well, Archaeopteryx was a dinosaur that had feathers. And don't get me started with birds are technically dinosaurs, okay? Not getting into that. But anyway, all right, moving on.
To the U.S. government on questions of science. In its publications, it falsely claims that the missing links that troubled Darwin are no longer missing. This is misrepresentation which deceives millions, because after 120 years of exhaustive searching, Darwin's missing links are still missing. Yet this
Yeah, I noticed they never say what they think a missing link would be. Like, we've got lungfish, right? A lungfish has both gills and a rudimentary lung. If that's not a quote unquote missing link, I don't know what is. But anyway, these quote unquote missing links aren't missing because they're not missing anymore. Like, what do these people. Ugh. This makes me angry because I grew up as a young earth creationist. And when I started really learning about science and what it shows, I was really, really angry. And then about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I left Christianity altogether. And I was very angry that they had lied to me. And maybe I wouldn't have been so angry if I had been part of a progressive branch of Christianity. I'm not saying all Christians are bad, okay? That's not what I'm saying. But I think I'm finally getting over my angry phase and just like it just bothers me that so many people believe this stuff, and it's not their fault because they've been conditioned to believe this stuff. And that's why we're in such a mess today, because people don't believe science. But anyway, moving on.
Academy and evolutionists continue to perpetuate the mythical theory that man developed from ape-like creatures. Richard.
We didn't develop from ape-like creatures. We are apes. I wish they would quit saying this. But then, of course, they can't say we are apes because then their whole argument falls apart. Now, they accept microevolution, but they're never going to delineate between microevolution and what they call macroevolution because they can't. You know, a little steps along the way are eventually going to morph into what they call macroevolution. You know, they never say what they want. Oh, yeah, they say they want transitional species. Well, we have transitional species. Case in point, the lungfish I mentioned earlier. But they're never going to accept it because it's not a alligator with a duck head. Like, you're never going to find an alligator with a duck head or a duck body with an alligator head. What even is that? You're never going to find that. Why would you find that? All right, moving on.
Richard Leakey, who is one of the most well-known anthropologists, said that if he were asked to draw a family tree for man, he would just have to draw a huge question mark because the evidence is too scanty to possibly know man's evolutionary origin.
I have no idea whether Richard Leakey said this or not. Frankly, I don't care because I don't even think Richard Leakey's alive today. He did his work in the 70s, you know, and that was old even for this series because this was in the 90s. This came out in the 90s, so, you know, but they always want to rely on old science. They don't care that new science has come out. So anyway, moving on.
He didn't think we're ever going to find it.
To aid and abet evolutionary concepts, artistic depictions have gone beyond ethical boundaries. Despite having no foundation for the ape-to-man theory, scientists and artists continue to dupe the public with lifelike but imaginary illustrations. These artists vainly entertain natural progressions of apes to humans and presume their hair color, skin tones, and even facial expressions from no more than a tooth, a piece of bone, or even
Okay, what they're talking about with the tooth is they're talking about Nebraska man, I believe. And that was a fake. We know it's a fake because guess what? Science found out that it was a pickery tooth and not a human tooth. Okay? As for quote unquote just a bone, what these creationists are not telling you is that we have more than just a bone from things we draw, pictures of. Yeah, we might have one bone from one individual, but put the bones together and you have enough to make a face, or, even put them together to make a whole skeleton. And also, what they're not telling you is the human skeleton is bilaterally symmetric. So if you have the right hand, say you have a right hand femur, then you can mirror it and put in a left hand femur. So, this doesn't make any sense at all. And I think they know that. and they're just being dishonest. All right, moving on.
Even no evidence at all. National Geographic magazine, which doesn't attempt to hide its evolutionary bias, admits that these fossilized footprints are identical to human footprints. Yet artists take the liberty.
National Geographic is not a scientific journal. National Geographic is a magazine, a popular magazine, and magazines don't care about getting things right because they write for a popular audience. Anything to sell magazines. I don't know how many times we gotta tell these people this. Go get your information from a scientific journal. Moving on.
To accommodate evolutionary theory and illustrate ape-like features to fit ape-like creatures. All because biased dating processes insist that these footprints were found in rock layers said to exist before humans.
Now, today we have evolution.
Dating processes have been shown to work. We don't use one dating method because that could be screwed up. We use several dating methods for the rocks. And not only do we use several dating methods for the rocks, but generally the scientists are going to send a few samples to a few different laboratories to make sure that the dating is correct. So I don't know what they're complaining about. Now they say that the dating methods are biased because they have a bias that the Earth is only 6,000 to 10,000 years old. Okay. They don't let the science speak for itself. Anything over 10,000 years old, and sometimes even 6,000 years old, they're going to discard entirely because they have the bias that it can't be right. Moving on.
Who would like us to believe there is solid evidence for evolution. Before the public, they generally create the impression that the evidence is just like solid gold, that man has evolved from some ape-like creature.
Dr. Donald Joe.
I don't know what they mean by the evidence is solid gold. That's just, oh my God. That's just a dumb thing to say. But that's probably the smartest thing they've said so far. So, whatever. Moving on.
Johansson, director of the Institute of Human Origins, discovered Lucy, an alleged ape-to-man missing link.
The human family and the ape family diverged and went on their own individual and separate evolutionary trajectories. We don't know precisely what the common ancestor was for that, but we know that it resembles something like what is called Ramapithecus.
Ramapithecus. That was formed out of nothing but a fragment of a jaw and several teeth. And for many, many years,
As far as I know, we have many more bones from Ramapithecus than just that. I don't know where these people are getting this information from. Probably right out of their ass, because that's what it sounds like. But moving on.
Ramapithecus was held up as our ape-like ancestor. But now Dr. Pilbeam at the Yale Harvard Peabody Museum, when I interviewed him, he said, we have found about 40 of these creatures. Now, some of them fairly complete, and they are not on the direct line to becoming man at all. They're more like an orangutan.
Dr. Pilbeam of Yale, who first claimed that
Oh, gee, imagine that. Science changes. And when science changes, scientists have to change their minds because that's how science works. Unlike you people who won't change your mind on anything. In fact, we have to drag you into the 21st century. But anyway, moving on.
Ramapithecus was an ancestor of man, now suggests that it isn't. Yet evolutionists continue to cite Ramapithecus as an ape-man link.
Another so-called missing link, Java Man, was concocted by Eugene Dubois when he found an ape-like skull fragment, and then 50 feet away he found a human leg bone. However, just before he died, Dubois confessed that he also found 2 human skulls at the same location, and he admitted that the
Yeah, I'm not going to give this any more breath than it's already gotten. You can watch Logic's channel. I can't remember which episode Logic covers this on, but it's in his Hello, I'm a Scientist series. So, if you want more information on this, because I don't have it readily available, go ahead and watch that. I'm sick and tired of hearing this. But anyway, moving on.
skull fragment belonged to a gibbon and not to an ape man.
Homo erectus is probably best known as Java Man. And it was at this stage in human evolution that they began to make and use these large triangular hand axes. Brains expanded over 1,000 cc's, body proportions similar to ours evolved, and we were firmly on the road to later hominids, including modern humans.
This hoax is still accepted by evolutionists today, and it's presented to the public as a true missing link. If you think the Java Man hoax is incredible, wait until you hear all the facts surrounding Johansson's Lucy, this little 3.5-foot adult skeleton, which looks just like a chimpanzee.
As you know, Lucy was found in 1974.
Yeah, I think I'm going to save Lucy for the next time because I do know quite a bit about Lucy and have quite a bit to say about that. So, sorry about that. Yeah, I got a hiccup. So, sorry about that. But yeah, I am going to save Lucy for next time I cover this because I do know quite a bit about Lucy and I'm not going to cover her here. So, but yeah, you can tell these people are just lying. Either that or they don't know as much as they think they know. And I'm going to go with lying, okay? Because I'm past giving these people the benefit of the doubt. Thank you, Bloodbatter. Yeah, sometimes things hiccup, you know. So, at any rate, but I will say goodbye. I don't have much to add. So, at any rate, you have a good night, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.